Hey, how you guys doing? It's Will, just in time prepping. Hey, I want to talk to you guys about something today. I've been watching some videos and listening to people talk out here on the tube, and I have been thinking about it for a couple of days, thinking that maybe I could come out here and tell you a little bit about how my thoughts are. I kind of got the idea from Tyler over there at Let's Talk About Prepping, and also from Dad out there on YouTube. So I'm gonna just kind of sit here and give you my thoughts on what I think. They're saying that with the millennials and everything, that we are already living in the TEOTWAWKI, the end of the world as we know it. So, I kind of been thinking about everything that people have been saying, and I guess they could be right. Uh, I'm older than those gentlemen for sure, and you know, I kind of was thinking about it. The millennials are kind of angry because of the uncertainty of what their future is because of what was handed to them. And, I can basically uh, understand why that would be. So I'm just going to kind of go back in time. Let's slip back into the past for a couple of minutes, okay? And it all comes down to, well, I am not a millennial by far. You can tell by looking at me, I'm sure. But, at the same time, I actually lived in the true times of freedom, in my opinion. Uh, I come from a time of like the 60s. Although I was born in the 50s, early 50s, I really wasn't able to comprehend anything till the early 60s, like 1960 and on, those were the good old days for sure. We didn't have all the people that had the little blocks on their shoulders and stuff, thinking that everything should be handed over to them and whatnot, family values were held at a uh, much higher standard. Yeah, and these are all my opinions, you guys. I'm not trying to push my opinions off on you by far. I am just telling you my side of my story. So, with that said, I come from a time where, I don't know, the families were much tighter. They're not like that anymore. The mothers and the fathers are forced into working. And I can understand why the families kind of get drifted apart in one way. And another way, I think that they have just lost their family values. So, as that said, I'm telling you that when I lived in the 60s, it was a totally different era. I mean, it's totally like flower power and stuff. From what I can understand, it was years of the hippies and flower power, and the things that we feared weren't the end of the world or anything. We were worried about Cuba and the Russians and things like that. Those were always in the back of our minds. The big thing that we were really big on was in those days we were dreaming of man hitting the moon. That was our big dream. That was when Kennedy started the space program and all that stuff. So, my big thing was my mom would kick me out of the house, and she'd say, go play. And then she would close the door and lock it, She would say, go out and play and come home at 5 o'clock when your dad gets home. So my big thing was to go out and find something to do, And we were fortunate. We didn't really have to live right in the city or anything. We lived kind of outside the city limits, not in the suburbs, even farther out from the suburbs. So I would take my trusty dog, and we would go up in the mountains, and we would hike through them, and we would play the army man games, whatever, and we would spelunk, we'd find caves, and you're just a young kid. You don't know any better. You're crawling down inside caves and stuff, and you're making the best out of your life. Those are the good old days in my mind. Uh, we'd climb all the way to the top of the mountains and back, and spend the whole day out there. I remember one time going to the top of this mountain and finding a fire tower. Back in those days, the big things with towers on the top of mountains. And we would crawl all the way up to the top of it. We got to know the guy that stood up there, one of the guys that took their shift up there looking through binoculars, and they're looking for forest fires and they're taking care of the forest. And he would tell us stories. We would sit there and listen to him in awe, him telling us about all those neat stories and stuff of him finding out uh, fires in the mountains and being able to use his two-way radio and call in for help and all this stuff. Those were just amazing days. So, that was pretty cool stuff. They don't do that anymore. Kids just don't do it. They don't have the I guess they just don't have the urge to do that anymore. I would remember, that my mom would just say, "Come back," when my dad was home, and I would actually just, uh, and so I would have to come in at night, and everybody would sit down around the table and eat dinner together. The mom, the dad, and all the kids, and everybody talked about how their day went for that day, and then after dinner was over, they would all go into the living room. They would sit down and they would sit and watch a black and white TV. Nobody had cell phones or tablets or laptops or anything like that. So we sat there and we would watch things like Ed Sullivan or even, uh, American Bandstand is the one I remember most, even though my parents didn't care for that kind of music, for the new rock and roll, they called it. They would sit there and let us kids watch it just the same, knowing that that would be what we grew up on. So that was what parents did. They just did it because. And so, those are how our days went. It wasn't like anything like today where both parents are pretty well forced to work, and because of our economy. And so, families tend to fall apart, grow apart, whatever you want to call it. And, somewhat I can understand how that is. Another part I can't. Even though both parents work, they could find the time to have like a family day. I know that when I had my son and everything, my my son's mother and I both worked, and we still found time. I had made it a habit to find time to at least sit down a couple of times a week and just sit there and talk about everything that's going on in everybody's lives. Sit there and play maybe a board game or something, and that's how my son grew up. So even though he is a millennial and everything, he still understands family values. So yeah, I can understand when the millennials are saying they kind of are upset about what was handed them for their future. Student loans. Most of these kids nowadays don't even understand or want to even think about going to college because you know what? It's expensive. All those student loans they have to use and eventually pay back, and they don't even know that when they get all done with their schooling, if what they chose to do is even going to be uh, used in the future. So things are very up in the air, and I kind of can relate with all that. But back in my day, we didn't have to worry about that. I'm going to slip back again. Back in my day, I remember, like I said, going up in the mountains. Another thing we did, was we slipped down to the pool hall. Mom, dad said, don't go to the pool hall. Guess where we went? We went to the pool hall. And we'd slip in there, we'd watch all the old timers playing snooker I don't even know if people know what snooker is anymore, but they'd be playing snooker, and that's where we learned how to play pool and stuff like that, and hang out with the big kids. You could go up to the counter, and they didn't care how old you were, as long as you had a nickel, you could buy a single cigarette, And that was kind of cool back in those days, Oh, let's smoke, grab a cigarette, and go out back. Because he wouldn't let you smoke them in the building, even though they had smoking in the buildings. He wouldn't let the kids smoke in there. So we all had a place out back. We would go out and smoke our darn cigarettes. So those are things that we did. So another thing that we did was we would hang out down at the local Woolworths department store. That was something Tyler was talking about. Macy's and all the big storefront stores that are no more, like Woolworths, Macy's, Sears. There's a lot of them that are no more. But they were big back in the day. My big thing was go down to Woolworths and hang out on the soda fountain and drink cherry cokes and milkshakes and hang out with all the other kids. They had a big department store there, and you could go and you'd look through the whole department store, and you could just spend hours in there wishing that you had money to spend on some of that stuff that they had in there. And it's just not that way anymore. All those big stores have gone to the wayside with the invention of internet and cell phones and tablets and all that stuff there. So, yeah, I could believe that. Uh, I guess we could say that we are in TEOTWAWKI, in the world as we know it, because I don't remember, I never imagined being in this age. I really didn't. I figured that I would grow up and I would go to college and I would make something of myself and I would own a house and 3 cars and have a handful of kids and all my kids would go to college and they'd go out and they'd find their way. And it's not always that way anymore. It's just some things change. We move forward at such a fast pace now that nobody can keep up. You notice that? I mean, what we knew yesterday isn't really as important today. Those are the kinds of things that we lose track of. So maybe we are living in Teotihuacan, but still, you gotta be prepared. You gotta be prepared for the real SHTF situations: hurricanes, tornadoes, earthquakes, volcanoes. There's tons and tons of stuff. I heard on the weather the other day that we may not have a big hurricane season. Something happened over in the desert that's pushing the sand out into the jet stream and going to calm down the hurricane weather. So, hey, God bless us for that, right? But, these are things that we have to be prepared for, and that's why I prep. I mean, I was brought up to do that anyway. Uh, Hiking in the mountains when I was a kid, carried over into my adult life. I spent most of my adult life in the woods because that's what I like to do. And there's some people that like it, some folks that don't. Some of them weren't even given the chance to do it. So if you haven't had the chance, why don't you put down your phone or tablet or whatever you have and get out there and try it? It's not all that bad. I can actually date myself here a little bit. Back in the day, this was like in the early 60s, my parents would go to like nightclubs and stuff. Adults still do that, it's different clubbing, but back in those days, they allowed children to go into the clubs and stuff. So on Friday nights, my parents would go out by themselves and they'd club, and then on Saturday nights, when they would go back, they would haul all us kids along with them. And here we would sit in the bar or the club, whatever you want to call it, and listen to the live music they had. And everybody'd be out there dancing on the dance floor and stuff. My mom, I used to hate this. My mom would take each one of the kids out onto the dance floor, and then she would dance with us. And she would teach us how to do the dances of that time, like the jitterbug and waltzes and two steps and stuff like that. But I look back on it and it was a good thing because it prepared me for my adult life, prepared me for when I got to go out and dates with girls and stuff like that. So all these things kind of mesh together and it forms your memories of where you came from. The kids of today are not going to have near those memories, or do they even care? They have what's in front of them. Excuse me. It's what they have in front of them. It's what can I get? What can I get for free? It's the values have gone way down. So I'm not going to go into that. These are my beliefs, not yours. I'm not trying to push my beliefs off on you. I'm rambling through my brain trying to show you that we could be living in the TEOTWAWKI and not even know it. But as I close here, because I've been rambling for a while, I want you guys to think about it. Put down your electronics for a day, maybe 2 days, 3 days. Take yourselves, put yourself in a car or on a bicycle or a motorcycle, whatever you have, and go up into the mountains. Go up into the mountains and spend a couple of days without anything there. Leave all your stuff at home. See if you can do that. Because, it may come down to it. You may have to do it. You don't ever really know. If we don't have to do it, hey, that's a plus. But if you do have to do it, you should be prepared for it. All right, guys, I better stop right there because I could go on and on and on, and you guys know how I am, so let's leave it there. As you guys all know, I love each and every one of you. I can't do any of it without you. I love you guys. I love all my future subscribers. I love the ones that are subscribed to other channels. You guys just are it, okay? So, you guys know, as I always say, God bless you and God bless me. Most of all, God bless you and me. We really need it at a time like this. See you out there.